another episode of the Maturity Project. I am the host, Chad Everett Broshears, or Sir Chad Everett Broshears to some. Today's episode is on building blocks, and as I continue on a daily basis, everything that I'm doing, creating the things that I'm out to create, and just really putting in the effort necessary to create the future that I want. I'm identifying building blocks. And those building blocks related to everything I experience in a lot of different ways. From just decisions that I make, the people I interact with. It's the small things. I mean so much, but also the small things are the easiest to change. It's just the problem is you qualifying those small things. All of us, they qualify the micro behavior changes that we go through on a daily basis. Simple way of understanding a micro behavior change is that you meet somebody and there's a little nuance you notice that aggravates or just gets them to react in a way that is not what your preference is. Like what you would really like to see or how you'd really like to interact with them. That micro change is something that you just slightly change. Perhaps it's like you realize that there's a specific word that's really not their favorite, right? Oddly enough and interestingly enough, there's little trigger words that moist, or some people have actually heard purple, just shifts their experience slightly with emotional position or whatever it is, but it shifts something about them that they vocalize or make a very obvious gesture that it's something that turns them off or that disengages them to some degree. So that's micro changes. You just stop. You decide not to use that word. Now those changes can be smaller. Just using that as a concept for the micro. No, it's not all encompassing in that, or that's the only way. It's just an example. But if you start realizing, what, I need to be a little bit more bold. Well, what is it necessary? What micro behaviors or building blocks pieces do you have to do in order to qualify what bold means to you and what bold means culturally or societally? So you start doing things that line up with that. Be aware of this stuff is the best way of changing it. I know that a lot of the things that I do kind of sits in a vanilla world, not really over polarized in any particular direction. And I do that because I really would rather touch as many people as possible in making, real transformational change and desirable transformational change. But I also realize that if you don't sit on you sit in a particular position, you'll start to reduce your potency because people don't really care. It doesn't touch them, doesn't reach them. So you realign the way that you speak, the way that you behave, and before you know it, you've created another avenue of opportunity. You've created something through the micro changes necessary to become more noticeable or to be more desirable to communicate with. So all of that is the simplicity. Micro behaviors are really easy. The little changes, they're really easy to accomplish what you want to accomplish. So know exactly what it is that you want. And if you don't, that's fine too. But sit in a position that you don't know what you want yet, and then work your way through that. So it's the simple version. Figure it out. I can't do it for you. It's 44 years old. There's still plenty of things that I'm figuring out that I have interest in. So concepts are same. Figure it out for yourself. But the method that I've used that has been incredibly successful and supportive of the direction that I have is to being aware of micro and macro changes necessary to build the block, to have the building blocks necessary for a different future. Today's episode is intended to be pretty short because it is pretty simple. It's just building blocks. Now, there's macro building blocks. That's the big stuff. That's where you're like, okay, if I have this much money, I can invest in that thing. And then, especially if you're looking at it from a business perspective, really successful business people, take profits, turn it into investments, and continue to, give themselves opportunities. It's not a fail-safe, but if you do it long enough and you learn from every situation, you will become successful. It's just when, and by what measurement is your concept of success. Just keep doing it. Now, I do that with emotional states as well. I reinvest what I've learned from my previous experiences and reinvest that in, instead of just like, okay, now I got enough and I'm just going to really just overdo this particular new experience or behavior that I have, and kind of lavishly live in that, not actually use it in conjunction with the next developmental piece. I do the other. I'm like, okay, well, great. I don't sit back on my laurels and just say, hey, I'm gonna just sit here and enjoy the fact that I put in the work, and now I'm just going to sit with the results. And it's a continuation of constant growth. Those are more that's micro to macro opportunities. If you go micro to macro stop and don't reinvest into the next your next step, you're limiting your opportunities and your growth. You can enjoy it, by the way. You can get there if you're looking at it from a business piece. Give yourself your goals and timelines and say, when I make X amount of money, and what other parameters. You can use money as a simple one, but I do suggest that you use other parameters as well. Checklist values of what you're working towards, so you can really develop a sense of satisfaction while you're sitting in the results that you've created. You can easily do that if you say, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to increase my profits by this much. This is how much I'm going to have in savings. I have this many different business moves that I need to make, or I've got a division that I want to build in my company, and I've got to have this division built out before I go on vacation. And then you use that as, okay, division's built out. Now, what values do you have to that division? You don't have to use it at this point, but for me, I'm one that says I need a division built out, and by what metrics is it that division is on track to being self-sufficient. Could be that I want it to be profitable, but I do also want to enjoy a vacation. So using that as a guideline, if you want, to really create great sense of return on your experience when you're on vacation. You can really sit and enjoy the work you've done and not have to act out like some people do, like go on vacation because of the level of success they've had. They feel like they're a different class of person. They're not. That's an immature way of behaving in a success model, and it is limiting because you may have success there, but what are you sacrificing in the other 7 areas of your development and your life? What are you sacrificing by putting out that kind of behavior and exposing other people to you being that kind of person? No, but it's what I expect out of a teenager that's just gotten to the point that they have a decent degree of success in something, and let's say they start learning something specific, and the next thing you know, that's all they want to talk about. And before you know it, then they have the I am more educated in this mindset, and then they treat you, as if you're lesser because you're not as educated in that. It's actually normal in development to a pretty decent degree, because it's the separation of childhood into adulthood, but you don't have to be such a jerk about it. But that's also in the development factors and how many areas have you put attention into growing. So anyway, all right, that's it. Video is done for today. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please comment in the comment section. Share this video with people in your life that that this can at least break the ice and perhaps take you to a new level of the conversation or that relationship. And like and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, subscribe. I do plan on putting out enough content, and from the communication I get through people in my life and the comment sections of this and the emails, and then the total communication I get in my life, I'll create continuously based off of that to try to give just different outcomes and insights. I'm not saying that I have the right way for everybody to live. I am going to be speaking from, and have been speaking from, and will continue to speak from who I am and what I've done to be successful and what I have done to help other people become successful in different places. I'm not saying just money, in just every aspect and avenue, and I'll share that along the way. And hopefully, and in time we'll bring people on that have had their experiences of development and growth through this education and to share that. It's a beautiful thing. So anyway, all right, till next time, I am Chad Everett Broshears, or Sir Chad Everett Broshears to some. And this is the Maturity Project. So, till next time, we'll catch you. All right, we got a world to change. Let's work on ourselves first, okay? Let's get that done. See ya.